Before you scroll away, hear this carefully. Some people do not enter your life to pass time. They enter like a force you did not ask for, but somehow always needed. And when they appear, something inside you goes quiet in a way that feels almost unreal. You try to explain it. You tell yourself it was timing, chemistry, loneliness, or just a strange season of life. But deep down, you know it was more than that. This was not ordinary. This was not random. This was the kind of meeting that changes the way you see love, distance, and even your own heart. Even now, while you are trying to move on, while you are telling yourself to be practical, while you are forcing your mind to accept what your soul still questions, there is a pull bringing your attention back to them again and again, not a desperate pull, not an unhealthy chase, something quieter, something deeper, a feeling that says this story is not as finished as it looks on the surface. And if you have been feeling that lately, stay with me, because what comes next may explain why this connection still lives inside you long after the silence began. Sometimes the people who are meant to matter do not arrive loudly, they arrive softly, then change everything. There are moments in life when someone steps into your world and the idea of coincidence starts to fall apart. You can sit there and study the timeline. You can replay the first meeting. You can list every detail and try to make sense of it with logic. But something in your gut already knows logic was never leading this story. This person did not simply appear. They arrived with weight. They arrived with meaning. From the beginning, something about them felt familiar in a way you could not explain. Not because you knew them before in any normal sense, but because some part of you recognized them before your mind could catch up. And when that happens, life stops feeling flat. The connection presses on something deep inside you and leaves a mark that does not fade easily. Even now, after distance, after silence, after confusion, there is still something inside you paying attention to them. That matters. Because false things do not survive time very well. Illusions crack. Fantasy weakens. Passing attraction fades once life gets real. But some connections remain standing even after months of no answers. They stay alive under the surface. They show up in still moments, in sudden emotions, in dreams that feel too vivid to ignore. That is when you begin to realize this person matters in a way that goes beyond your ego wanting an outcome. They matter because they woke something up. You may feel torn right now, and that inner split can be exhausting. One part of you wants to hold on because the feeling was too real to dismiss. Another part of you wants to let go because carrying uncertainty every day has become heavy. You go back and forth between trust and doubt, between what your heart keeps sensing and what your eyes keep seeing in the outer world. Silence has a way of feeding questions. Distance can make even a strong person wonder if they imagined everything. Maybe you told yourself you read too much into it. Maybe you thought you gave meaning to something that was never fully there. But if it were only imagination, it would have broken by now. Time would have exposed it. Your emotions would have settled into indifference. Yet here you are, still feeling the thread, still sensing that something remains unfinished. That tells you this was not just excitement, it was impact, the kind that rearranges you from the inside. The kind that changes your standards, your emotional awareness, your ability to tolerate shallow connection ever again. Stay with this part because it matters. When something changes you at that level, it cannot be treated like a passing chapter. It becomes part of your growth, part of your new emotional language, part of the reason you no longer fit into the old version of your life. What makes this even more difficult is that deep connections rarely move in neat straight lines. They twist, they pause, they return, they make progress, then seem to disappear into silence again. That does not always mean they are false. Sometimes it means the feeling is real enough to scare one or both people involved. Some people carry huge emotion behind a calm face. They feel everything, but show almost nothing. And when a bond asks them to be fully open, they pull back because they are not ready to be seen at that depth. Their silence is not always the absence of care. Sometimes it is the sign of care becoming too intense to manage. They fear vulnerability. They fear losing control. They fear what happens when someone reaches the parts of them they spent years protecting. This is where many powerful bonds start to crack, because one heart becomes ready before the other one can handle its own truth. One person wakes up faster. One person understands the lesson sooner. The other backs away from the mirror. And yes, you may have become that mirror for them. You showed them honesty. You showed them emotional reality. You touched a quiet place inside them that had not been touched in a long time. That kind of inner movement does not vanish just because they stepped back. It stays, it waits, it works on them in silence. That is why the ending never felt clean. If this were truly done, it would have settled by now. It would have closed without this lingering weight, without these quiet signs, without these strange emotional returns that come out of nowhere. Instead, the connection keeps showing up in small ways. A dream that feels too sharp, a memory that lands in your chest at the exact wrong time, a song, a feeling, a sudden wave of calm or sadness that seems connected to them without any clear reason. These moments are not always there to keep you stuck. Sometimes they are there to keep you aware. There is a difference, because awareness is not desperation. Awareness is simply your deeper self noticing that the story is still moving under the surface, even if you cannot yet see the full shape of it. And this is where many people make a mistake. They try to force the outcome. They try to open doors with panic. They call anxiety intuition, but real knowing feels different. It does not scream. It does not beg. It does not make you abandon yourself just to hold on. Real knowing is steady, quiet, clean. It lives beneath the noise. So if your heart feels calmer when you think of the deeper truth of this bond, pay attention to that. Calm can sometimes be the clearest form of confirmation. Right now, something may be softening behind the scenes. The person who once hid behind distance may be feeling the cost of that distance more clearly now. What once felt safer to avoid may now feel emptier without you in it. Sometimes the fear of trying again is strong, but the fear of losing someone for good slowly becomes stronger. That shift is important. It does not happen overnight. It happens quietly, in layers, as a person begins to face what they could not face before. And while that happens, you are changing too. This connection did not just make you miss someone. It made you meet parts of yourself you had ignored for years. It made your standards rise. It made your emotional depth clearer. It showed you that you can no longer settle for half-present love, mixed energy, or shallow attention dressed up as romance. Once you have felt something deeper, you cannot go back to sleep emotionally. You cannot return to what used to be enough. That is part of why letting go feels so complicated. You are not just releasing a person, you are also trying to understand the version of yourself that was born through knowing them. And that version of you matters. It is more aware, more honest, more awake. Do not click away yet, because this next truth may help you breathe easier. Not every delay means denial. Sometimes delay is what keeps something from breaking before it is ready to stand. There is a powerful difference between attachment and alignment, and once you understand it, everything begins to shift. Attachment says, I need this person in order to feel okay. Attachment begs, chases, searches for signs every hour, and makes your peace depend on someone else's choices. But alignment feels different. Alignment says, I feel this connection deeply, but I do not need to lose myself inside it. I can honor what is real without collapsing into fear. I can trust what I feel and still protect my self-respect. That change matters more than most people realize, because the moment you stop chasing clarity and begin living from clarity, the whole energy around the connection transforms. The pressure changes, the panic weakens, the bond is no longer fed by your anxiety. It begins to breathe inside a steadier space, and people feel that shift. They feel when your energy stops reaching for validation and starts returning to itself. They feel when you are no longer waiting in the same old painful way. That is often when reality begins moving, because now the connection must be chosen honestly, not managed through fear, not carried by one person's effort, chosen. And when that moment comes, everything becomes clearer. Either the bond rises to meet the truth, or it shows you exactly where it cannot. Both outcomes carry peace if you are rooted in your own worth. What you are going through is not only about love, it is also about becoming. Sometimes a connection enters your life not to stay right away, but to wake you up and break the old emotional patterns you had been surviving inside for years. Before this person, maybe you accepted less than you deserved. Maybe you settled for surface attention, confused chemistry with compatibility, or mistook inconsistency for mystery. But after this, your heart changed. You became more sensitive to what is real and what is only noise. You can now feel the difference between intensity and true intimacy. You can feel the difference between longing and alignment, between a fantasy that keeps you spinning and a truth that steadies you from the inside. That awakening changes everything. It means your pain was not meaningless. It means your confusion was also teaching you. It means the connection, even with all its silence, was revealing you to yourself. And that matters. Because when pain starts turning into understanding, suffering loses some of its grip. The thoughts of them begin arriving with more stillness, more maturity, less chaos. You stop asking only why this is happening to you and start seeing how it may also be happening for you. That shift is huge. It turns heartbreak into instruction. It turns waiting into inner work. It turns uncertainty into a space where wisdom can begin to grow. And while you are growing, they may be feeling the shift too, even if they have not found the courage to name it yet. When one person in a deep bond changes, the whole connection responds. Energy does not stay frozen forever. It moves. It seeks balance. So when you stop pushing and start standing firmly in your truth, something changes in them as well. Your silence begins to mean something different. It is no longer loud with hurt or desperate need. It becomes still, grounded, clear. And that kind of silence can confront a person more deeply than pursuit ever could. Because now they cannot hide behind your effort. They cannot lean on your emotional labor while avoiding their own. They begin to feel what is missing. They begin to face the patterns that once helped them feel protected, but now only keep them alone. Walls, control, avoidance, emotional distance. These things may have kept them safe once, but now they keep them separated from what they actually want. And that realization can shake someone deeply. Because moving forward now would mean risking vulnerability, while staying back may mean losing something truly rare. That is not a comfortable place to stand, but it is often the exact place where real change starts. Your outcome does not depend on how hard you hope. It depends on how honestly you honor yourself while this unfolds. That is where your real power lives. The more true you stay to your own values, your own peace, your own emotional clarity, the easier it becomes to see the path in front of you. Whether this story leads to reunion or release, it will not destroy you if you remain rooted in yourself. That is the lesson you are learning now. You are stronger than the uncertainty. You are deeper than the longing. You are capable of holding love without begging for proof every minute. And that strength changes the quality of everything. There are still words that may need to be spoken, feelings that may still need air, truth that may still be waiting for courage. But your job is not to drag that truth out of anyone. Your job is to be ready for honesty when it comes and unshaken if it does not come in the form you once imagined. This is where inner maturity begins. You stop calling confusion destiny. You stop giving sacred meaning to what never offers real presence. You become more careful, more awake, more exact with your heart. And strangely, that does not close you off. It makes you more open to what is real, because now you know the difference between emotional fantasy and a bond that can actually live in daylight. You may already feel that your relationship to this connection has changed. The longing is softer now, not weaker, just wiser. You are beginning to understand instead of only ache. That is a very important stage. It means your heart is learning how to carry truth without turning it into suffering every day. It means you are no longer asking this bond to rescue you from yourself. You are meeting yourself inside it. You are finding your own center again. And once that happens, even your thoughts of them begin to feel different. There is less grasping, less panic, more space, more acceptance, more trust in what is meant to reveal itself in the right season. That does not mean you stop caring. It means your care becomes cleaner. You no longer twist yourself trying to keep the connection alive. You stop over-explaining your feelings to people who cannot hold them. You stop performing patience while secretly bleeding inside. Instead, you become honest with yourself. You admit what was real, you admit what hurt, you admit what you hoped for, then you let life answer from there. And that is when clarity becomes possible, because clarity rarely comes to the version of you that is begging. It comes to the version of you that is standing. So stay with this. The next chapter of this story will ask for your discernment, not your desperation. It will ask for strength, not self-abandonment. There is a quiet power that grows inside a person when they no longer need outside reassurance to trust what they know. That power changes your whole emotional landscape. You stop checking every little sign. You stop scanning for proof in every song, every dream, every mood shift. Not because the bond means nothing, but because something inside you has finally settled. You know what you felt. You know what changed you. You know the truth does not need to scream in order to be true. And from that place, your presence becomes different, cleaner, calmer, undistorted by fear. That kind of presence has impact. It forces honesty. It reveals what is real because there is no longer as much noise around it. If they are capable of meeting you, they will feel called forward. If they are not, the gap will become impossible to ignore. And either way, the truth becomes visible. This is why your growth matters so much. Because when you stop shrinking yourself to keep a connection alive, the connection must answer honestly. Either it rises or it falls away. Either it deepens into something lived and accountable, or it dissolves into the lesson it came to teach. And hard as that may sound, it is also freedom. Because you no longer have to stay trapped in the middle, feeding confusion with your energy while hoping it becomes clarity on its own. If they return, it should not be empty. It should not be vague. It should not ask you to carry all the emotional weight again. Real return means intention. It means accountability. It means the willingness to meet you in the open space you now live in, not drag you back into the old emotional maze. Love is not only something to be felt in private, it must be lived in choices, in communication, in effort, in truth. That is why everything may have slowed down. Anything built before this level of awareness would likely have collapsed under pressure. But what is built after real growth has a chance to stand. And if they do not return, that does not mean this connection failed. It may have completed its deepest purpose already by bringing you back to yourself, by showing you your own heart, by teaching you what real depth feels like, by ending your attachment to half-love and emotional confusion. That is not a small thing. That is a life change. So whatever comes next, let it meet the version of you that is now stronger, clearer, and more grounded than before. Let it come to your level. Do not lower yourself just to feel chosen. You are not here to beg for a place in someone's life. You are here to stand in truth and let what is real reach you honestly. So if this message is finding you at the right moment, take a breath and listen to what lands without force. Truth does not have to wrestle you. It settles. It brings a strange calm even while emotions are still moving. If your heart feels more open than afraid right now, pay attention to that. Something in you already knows this story is still carrying meaning, even if the final shape has not fully appeared yet. There may still be movement forming. There may still be courage building for a conversation that has not happened yet. There may still be a moment ahead where silence finally gives way to truth. But whether that moment comes or not, do not forget what this connection has already done. It changed you. It deepened you. It stripped away illusion. It taught you to want more than chemistry, more than timing, more than almost love. And that alone is sacred. So stay present. Stay grounded. Let fear speak if it wants, but do not let it lead you anymore. You are not the same person you were when this began. You do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to chase what is meant to meet you. What belongs in your life will come with truth, not endless confusion. And if this bond is real enough to stay, it will find its way into the light. Until then, protect your peace, trust your deeper knowing, and let the next part unfold without abandoning yourself.